You know, it's really hard to follow Ryan Lester up on the stage here because you covered so many good points. So I'm not even going to try to sell anybody on chatbots. I saw him speak down in Naples, Florida, a couple months ago, and you know, I was jumping up and down saying, "We got to do chatbots. We got to do chatbots," and we've been doing them for 3 years. And I got all excited all over again. So thank God we had already started it. As Stuart said, my name is Beaumont Vance. I am the head of chatbot and AI and a bunch of other stuff at TD Ameritrade. And when I said that, how many people thought bank? Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. TD Bank, Toronto Dominion Bank, is a totally different entity. Long story, but we are TD Ameritrade, totally different company. They own some stock, but that's about it. We don't really work with them. I find banks boring. We are actually an online stock trading platform, basically. What we do is we provide a technology platform that allows people to invest their money, trade stocks. And we don't buy stocks, we don't sell stocks, we're not like Goldman Sachs, we're not like Bear Stearns or anything, right? Our main purpose is to facilitate wealth management for regular people. So historically, if you think back to like say the 1940s, if you wanted to buy a share of, I don't know, GE, right? It would cost you about $500. You'd have to go to your bank, get a bank draft or cash, go to your broker's office. They were only open probably from 12 to 3 because they didn't work very hard. It cost $500, right? Whether you wanted to buy 1 share or 10,000 shares. Over time, technology has changed that. So first came along telephone trading, right? And Fidelity really pioneered that. And trades got to be down to like maybe $100, then $50. And then the internet came. TD Ameritrade was one of the first adopters for online trading. We had telephones and online trading, and today you can do a trade on our platform for $6.95. So what we've done is we've democratized the whole concept of investing and the stock market and brought it down to everyone, right? We've made it easy, we brought it into your living room, into your home, and we've made it affordable. And that's what we do. We don't have any product. Our only product really is customer service, is that platform. I have to, by law, tell you, don't listen to anything I say. We don't give any advice. So if you hear me tell you to buy something or sell something, don't. Talk to somebody who knows what they're talking about. I'm a technologist. So since the only thing we do is serve our customers with our technology stack, and we have no real product, we have nothing on the shelves, we care a lot about the voice of the customer, right? We want to know what the customers are thinking. We want to serve them, you know, you've heard it before, meet them where they are, the way they want to interact. And over the years we did that. We were pioneers and disruptors with internet trading. We have a humongous call center. We get 13 million phone calls a year, which translates, if you took all the recordings and you played them end to end, it's 300 years of recordings every single year of people talking to us. Vast amount of data, right? And fortunately, through AI, not the talk I'm going to give today, but we can take all of the chats, all of the emails, all of the surveys, and all of the phone calls, and we can actually analyze those and turn them into data so we know what our customers are telling us, right? And a lot of what they're telling us is how they want to interact with us. Most people will call us because they can't get their solution somewhere else. Some people like to call us because they're lonely. They like to talk to somebody. There's one lady who calls like every single day at the same time, gets one quote, and then talks about the weather and her grandkids. That's not really why we're in business, but hey, it's nice. In our company, we have 10,000 total employees. 6,500 of those employees are call center reps that are waiting just to help customers. And that tells you 2 things. Number 1, that we really care about serving our customers, right? Number 2, we spend a lot of money doing that because people are not scalable and they're expensive. And if you look at the trends, I heard a statistic earlier today on the main stage. Somebody said that of people surveyed, 2/3 would rather clean their toilet than call a customer service center on the telephone, right? And I think they didn't include young enough people, because when I ask my kids, they would actually rather die than call anybody on the phone. In fact, when they order their pizza, and they will only order the pizza if they can get it on their app, right? And it comes to the door, they don't want to talk to the guy who hands them the pizza. Like they watch Black Mirror and they're like, Dad, how come a self-driving car can't bring me the pizza so I don't have to talk to anybody? And the thing is, I mean, I'm so curmudgeonly now. I feel the same way. I don't want to talk to anybody. I just want my stuff answered, right? I want to do it on my phone, my apps. If you look nationally, this is what's happening everywhere, right? I don't have to tell you guys this. The world's changing. Since 2015 to 2018, right, there's about a 9% drop in the number of people who are calling call centers to get their needs met, right? Now, either we're doing a really good job on all of our websites and stacks and everything, or society's changing. People are looking for different ways to get their needs met, right? So customers don't really want to call us. We know this. They usually call because they're a little upset. And we try to make them happy. But on the flip side, we're also spending a lot of money. If you look in the US, this is just US alone, 3,400,000 call center reps in the United States with a total spend of about $176 billion, right? So we got a situation where the customer's saying, we don't really want to use this service, right? We'd prefer to use something else. And we're looking at saying, you know what, we don't really want to spend the money, right? This is the most expensive way to serve you. And on top of it all, from a technology standpoint, humans aren't scalable. If we know we're going to have 4 times the volume of calls tomorrow, I can't hire 4 times as many people to be in the office tomorrow and then fire them all the next day when the volume goes back down, right? I can't dial it up and down. But I can do that with tech, and that's why we have tech. And if you refer back to that $500 trade versus $695, the reason we've gone from $500 to $695 is on the back of technology. We've been serving people with technology all these years. It's made it cheaper and it's democratized it, right? So we should just create chatbots, right? We have this discussion, chatbots and voice, chatbots and voice, chatbots and voice. The trick is chatbots and voice are not used the same. People don't interact with technology systems the same way they interact with humans necessarily, and they don't type the same way they talk. So the one statistic that stands out to me is we've got Alexa. You can trade on Alexa through us or Google Assistant, but you can also get quotes, right? And if you look at it, 47% of the people using Alexa to access our systems are asking for a quote. If you look at ABC's Apple Business Chat, so this is the chat you have on your Apple phone, it's only 8%. What this tells me, so the people, that 47%, those are people who are so lazy they don't actually even want to pick up their phone to punch any numbers into it to see what it is. They just want to say, how much is Apple today? And it tells them, right? The people who are actually going in and getting the chat are doing something else, right? What they're trying to do is they're trying to solve problems. So the point here is I don't think that voice is the thing that's driving that reduction in phone calls, right? That 9% reduction. And if you look at the broader trends too, I'm not telling you guys anything new. There are a lot of Alexa devices. It says 33 million here. I've heard the number recently, 100 million devices I think they have in the world now. A lot of people are using voice assistants. My kids are too lazy to type in things in Google anymore, so they just talk to their phone and ask Siri. The one that stuck out to me, the interesting one, is the dollar savings, right? So for chatbots, they're saying that $8 billion by 2022. Now, go back to that earlier slide. 9% reduction from 2015 through 2018, through 4 years, right? I calculate that a 10% savings, 10% reduction in calls translates to about 17.6 billion. I'm thinking we've already saved pretty close to 20 billion. And if we keep going at this rate, looking at the numbers you showed up there, a 63% deflection rate on calls, they're shooting way, way, way too low. It's much bigger than that. The ROI that we can get on this particular technology is massive. All right? So you guys all want chatbots. The executives back at your companies very likely want to do AI, right? This is a very hot topic right now. And so we get to the fun part of it, right? And the fun part is we want to do AI, right? Let's get together a team. We'll get together a Tiger team. We've got a POC. Let's do a POC. And everybody gets together and yay, we're going to get TensorFlow. We're going to get Facebook chat. We're going to do all this stuff. And everybody has a really good time, and you get some coders and they're doing some great stuff. And you get a little POC and they train it for 4 or 5 questions and they do a big presentation and they ask their phone something and it tells them an answer and everybody goes, yeah, that's awesome. And they go, great, let's do this thing. And then they're like, who puts this into production? Mobile. No, mobile doesn't do it. Oh, let's see. Web? Does web do it? You guys don't do it. Has anybody got time to do this? Maybe. I got a little extra time. I could sort of sit at a desk, right? And so you've got this problem of production, but more importantly, you've only trained it for 3 things, right? Or 5 things, whatever, right? You've trained it for a few things. You got a small team, short period of time. No budget usually, right? Or small budget. And so you present it and the executives get it and they ask it 3 questions and it answers. And then they ask it the 4th one, wasn't trained for that, right? That's the 5th one, it wasn't trained for that. And they say, how come this thing isn't working? And you say, well, we didn't train it. And they said, hold it, this is AI, right? Every Hollywood movie I've ever seen, the robot teaches itself. Even in The Incredibles, right? The robot learns. So all you gotta do is just turn the AI on, it learns, right? No, actually, you know what, guys? It doesn't learn because somebody's gotta train it. And here's where I'm gonna help you. I'm not gonna give you a lot of solutions. I'm gonna show you stuff, I'm gonna show you how what our system looks like, but I'm gonna give you the magic bullet. I have a video clip that if you play it to your executives, when you have this conversation, before you do this POC thing, they will understand that they need to fund what you're doing. I've shown this to our CEO. I've shown this to every senior member. I make all of my team watch this video clip. I put it in every presentation I do because it works. And so let me just give it a little setup. So are you guys ready to go? Wait for my signal. I got to give it a setup. How many of you watch the show Silicon Valley? Yes, excellent, my people. So there's this one episode where Jin Yang gives a pitch for an app called Seafood. And what it's supposed to do is on your phone, you can take a picture of any food and it'll like give you all the nutritional information and it identifies the food, right? So he gets a lot of funding from some venture capitalists and he goes off and he builds it and he's gonna demonstrate it to them, right? And then this is what happens, and this is exactly where you are with any POC. You guys hit it?
Please, God.
What will you say if I told you there is an app on the market?
We're past that part. Just demo it.
Okay. Let's start with a hot dog.
Huzzah! Jin Yang, my beautiful little Asiatic friend, I'm going to buy you the palapa of your life. We will have 12 posts, braided palm leaves. You'll never feel exposed again.
I'm gonna be rich. You Guilfoyle. Do pizza.
Yes, do pizza.
Yeah.
Okay. Pizza.
Not hot dog?
Wait, what the
Huh?
That's it? It only does hot dogs?
No, and a not hot dog.
Give me that. Give it to me. Jin Yang, mother I gave you the ability to spin gold, and instead you spun hair with in it.
And then Jin Yang says, hey, if you want me to train it for all that other stuff, like I'm gonna have to feed it like 50,000 images from all over the internet and stuff. That's hard work. Forget it, I'm not doing it. And he quits, right? And that's usually what happens. Somebody builds a POC and you go back to that same team and say, okay, now it's gotta be trained. And they're like, oh my God, that's like 10,000 hours of just like labeling sentences and words. Forget it, no, I don't do that. Nobody wants to do that. There is a way to do this. And this was actually I'm gonna show this. This is the first hurdle to get over, I think, when building chatbots, right? If you can understand that and you can get your senior executives to understand that, right? There's a way to solve that. Show them the video clip and then you can there's a way to build this so that it doesn't cost a lot of money and you can get everything super trained, right? So we've got a big AI engine, one of them on TensorFlow, and we were having exactly the same problem. We needed about 10,000 hours of training. And that was just to train about 200 classifications. So not even a really ambitious project. So what we did is, for all of the chats and everything that we get coming in, all the phone calls, transcripts, we park them out on a Microsoft Azure cloud, right? And we do that basically to get it outside of our wall and so that we can strip out any type of damaging information, account numbers, names, and things like that. And then we have a simple training interface. And most chat systems will have some type of interface that allows you to go in and do the training of the slots and map intents and the things that you need to do, right? And it really doesn't matter what it is. We do this with Clink, and we do this with Nuance, and we do this with our own in-house system as well that we built. And then what I do is I have an offshore team in India, actually, with a company called CenturyLink. And what they do is they have a team of people, and there's a lot of people like this overseas, who all they do all day long is they sit at a desk on one of these training interfaces, they get a series of utterances, a sentence or two, and they label them. They see an utterance and they label them. They see an utterance and they label them. They see an utterance and they label them. And a lot of things can be pre-trained. We trained our engine on 5.6 million chats before we launched it, and we got about like 80% accuracy, right? But the problem is people don't use the same language all the time. There's regional dialects, and people, just even money. How much money is in my account? How much cash? Moolah, clams, dough, cashola. Like there's so many ways to say the same thing, and if you don't map them, then the system's just not gonna understand, right? If you want to have a good customer experience and you're going to launch it out into prod, you don't launch betas that don't understand what people are talking about. You need something that understands language. And so what we do is we have them just train this thing day in and day out. And then we have somebody spot check 15% of all the labels every day. And then once a month we do machine versus human runoffs. Like we have people look at 200 calls, and then we run 200 calls through the machine and we match them and we see what the score is. And right now on the trained intents and questions that we have, we're running 95%. And that's probably about as good as you're going to get with an AI system because of the ambiguities of language. But for us, that it works. And the thing is, it's relatively inexpensive. But having that separate training thing as part of your chat system, I rarely see people talk about it when they're talking about AI. And it doesn't matter if it's image or whatever it is that you're doing. If you don't have some way to throw lots of manpower at training that thing that's not going to cost a fortune, you're going to have one heck of a time convincing anybody to get you to do it. Or you're going to launch a product that's essentially a glorified FAQ engine, right? And we're looking to do something more than that. We want to meet people's needs, not tell them, okay, you can do these 10 things. You can ask us just these 10 things. Don't ask us anything else, because then they'll call us, and then we don't want that, right? Okay. So the last piece I want to talk about, and this is a little bit more involved. Before I did this, Matt Farrell, the head of VentureBeat, asked me if I could share some of the realities of what this really looks like in practice. And in nuts and bolts of what we're doing with chat is this. So we've got chat, we've got, let's see, just off the top of my head, Apple Business Chat, Facebook, Twitter, and WeChat, and we've got those in English. We also have them for Hong Kong, Singapore, and mainland China. So we've got a bunch of different platforms that are running in different, with different apps. And then we also have Alexa and Google Assistant, right? So we've got 2 voice apps and we've got a whole bunch of regular chat apps. And when we started out doing this, the idea was we were just going to build a whole bunch of them and have a bake-off, right? If you do that, you end up having to write separate code for everything, and your user experience falls apart, because if they go into one app, they get a totally different thing than another app. And one app will answer quotes, but then the other one won't, and one will let you trade, and one won't, and one's got carousels, and one doesn't. So what we've done is we've actually decided to use Microsoft's Lewis engine, right? And the way Lewis works essentially is whether you're coming through chat or voice, right? The call or the question basically comes in and it hits a dispatcher. And what the dispatcher does is it decides, there's 2 types of questions that can be asked, or two types of answers you will deliver. One is a standard curated answer, and that's an answer that is the same for everybody in this room. If you ask me, what's the definition of a 401k? Or what are the tax implications of withdrawing from an IRA before the age of 50, right? That's the same answer no matter who it is. So I can have a database of curated data that we put together that's pretty simple, and then I just have to serve that to you. And that is what most chat does, right? And that's like the simplest thing on earth. And all that's doing really is it's giving you something, it's really becoming a headless UI. It's doing what Google does. Instead of you saying, go to my website and figure out, like, the websites are horrible. All of them, because they're like, you got to click on something that gives you a drop-down menu, and you got to figure out what the drop-down menu is, and you got to go to another drop-down menu, and then you get on some page, and then it gives you like a whole ton of documents, and they usually have some horrible, horrible search engine on it that gives you the wrong thing, and then you get frustrated, and then you call the customer service center, right? It's so much better if you can go into the chatbot and just ask your question, and it like gives you the answer. But like I was trying Planned Parenthood's one this morning. I'm not going to share with you the questions that I asked Planned Parenthood's chatbot, but they're awesome. But a lot of times it doesn't give you like a straight answer. It just gives you a boilerplate general sort of thing, right? Which is fine for a lot of stuff, and it helps you navigate. For us, a lot of what our customers want is they want to know, what's my balance? How much did my portfolio go up or down in the last 10 months? They have very specific questions, and they're not just specific in terms of we have to fetch specific data. We also have to authorize them, right? And we have to go and get that data. And sometimes for one of the apps we have, which is an internal app, you can ask things like, what is the correlation between net new assets coming into the firm and daily average trades and the S&P 500 for the past 18 and a half months, starting in October 1st, 2018. And it will calculate that. It will give you the R values, and it will show you the chart, and it will return to you in a couple of seconds, right? That's like the type of question where chat's like, yeah, right? Like this is a real thing. This is like AI delivering to me exactly what I want, and it's tailored to me exactly, right? And so when somebody calls up and says, what's my balance? We have to go and like make sure they're authorized, know which account the balance is on, go into a protected system because we're highly regulated, right? Get that data and then return it back to them. And that's far more complicated. So when we started doing it, we were trying to do everything within chat, like even trading within chat. And we realized chat isn't built to execute things, right? It's just supposed to understand what you're saying and then know to go fetch it. The things that curate the data, that grab the right data, put it together, run a calculation, draw a graph, there are things that do that already. There's lots of things that do that. And so what we've done is the curated content is all on this side. That's simple. The Lewis piece, that's the stuff that's really tricky. And what we've done is created a plug-and-play model with microservices. So anything that you see on this screen, we can take out, and it doesn't change anything really, and we can replace it. So if we wanted to get Bold 360 and put them in here, and we might, who knows, or Clink or whatever other service, or we want to build our own, we can do that and have the same sort of structure. If the thing that's getting the figures and the numbers and drawing the graphs, if we want to use something different for that, or we want to build our own, then we can just plug that out and put that in. But those services that are actually doing things, each one of those things, it's a world of narrow AI, right? So I can't build one AI that does a whole ton of things. So instead what we've done is we've created a modular architecture so that we've got a chat system that's understanding what you're asking. It knows where to send things, and it knows what system to query. And so then it sends out the query and can return it back. And like the one on the bottom, the knowledge graph, I'll just share this one with you real fast because it's so cool. Somebody in our company took all the Slack and emails and used social network graphs to link everybody up, and he populated the topics that they're talking about and then matched them against Jira so we know which projects they're working on. Because the CEO one day said, you know what would be great? If I could just ask my phone, who should I talk to about blockchain? And it just told me who the person was. And HR said, wouldn't it be great if we could say, who are the Python developers who work on business process automation? And it just told me who they were, because there's no way to look that up right now, right? What this does is it graphs out the communication patterns. And when you say a topic like Python for business process automation, it eliminates everybody who doesn't have that associated with them and gives you the social graph, the communications graph, just for the people who talk about that thing. And it shows who the hub is. Who's the person that everybody else communicates with the most? Who's sort of at the center of that community? And when you ask that question, that little module down there figures that out, gives it back to Lewis, and Lewis sends it back out to whatever platform you came in. Nice thing is, that means that the CEO can not just ask his phone, he can ask Google Assistant, he can ask his Alexa, he can ask his computer, he can ask anything, and we can return that answer to him, right? And if it comes along, and if it turns out that somebody else like has this product, because I mean, I'm telling you, every day I see a product that does what we've been trying to build for the past 6 months, and I realize I could get it done quicker if I just stopped and bought it. You have to be nimble in this space, right? Somebody comes along and says, oh yeah, no, we coded that up already. Like we got it, it's much better. We just yank the one we've got, we plug in a new one, and nobody knows. Everything is completely, seamless basically to the user. And that's essentially what our, what we're trying to shoot for here is we just want people to be able to go to this thing and ask whatever they want. And when there's a new thing that we didn't think about yet, we can build it and plug it in, right? And that way we're not burdening the chatbot either with having to figure a lot of stuff out within the chat architecture. It can go out and it can get a microservice to do it, right? Make sense? All right, I got 2 minutes, so I'll open it to questions. Anyone? Yeah.
So how do you handle security? Because I haven't understood that chat is necessarily the most secure channel, and if you're talking about trading on chat.
Yeah, you have to authorize in. So like if you use our Twitter chat platform, for example, it'll first ask you to log in, and it'll put up login credentials. You put in your name and password, do your 2-factor, and then you're in. And then it's all protected. Yeah, we're regulated, so we can't, got to be so much easier if we could just not do that. But again, that just sort of all happens in the background. But that's part of the system thing. When you say you want to do something, it has to hit Lewis, and Lewis has to say, oh, they're trying to do this, I'm going to send you to the authorization engine. The authorization engine sends back the answer that says, give me these 2 pieces of information. And then off you go. Anyone else?
For the modular apps over there on the right, how complicated was it did you just use the way they had their data model and program the APIs to use the data, or did you have to go back to those teams and ask them to change it to model the data a certain way? Like how long does it take to plug in a app?
Both. I'll tell you one thing. If you start off thinking like, I'm going to get the data perfect first, and then I'm going to go forward and do something with it. Like in 15 years from now, we'll be back here and you'll be like, well, we're still waiting for the data to get perfect. Because I mean, I know Tom Davenport personally, right? He wrote his book about big data in 2006. We've been working on big data since 2006. It's 13 years later. I don't know a company that would tell you like, we've got our data where we want it. But sometimes what we have to do is we have to create a database purpose built for that thing that's clean and is the way we want it. So for example, we had to put a lot of data into Postgres to answer the questions about company financials on the fly, and to do the calculations that we wanted with the engine we were using, because Postgres worked best with it. So we actually had to write some script basically that pulled over and cleaned the data and dropped it into the Postgres database. So sometimes it happens that way. The rest is API. We have lots of APIs that we call. That's what most of it is, honestly, is API calls. And else, if anybody has any questions, like this is one of my favorite topics. I like to talk about actually getting stuff done. I don't like to talk about killer robots. And I don't like to talk about like sort of the philosophies of this stuff. I'm more into the operational arm of it. But I'm happy to share what we've learned before, and I love meeting other peers in this space. So if you're interested at all, you want my card, just grab me afterwards and we can talk. Thanks.